Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel and a special welcome to all my new subscribers. So thank you for subscribing. For all of you new folks who don't know, my name is Jessica Lang and I'm a psychotherapist currently living in Israel, but I'm originally from California. So enough about me. Today's topic is going to be something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's all about making big changes in your life, and it's specifically geared towards nomads or expats or people who made Aliyah, just immigrants, anybody who's packed up their bags, left their country of origin, and traveled abroad and is on this crazy journey um, of living abroad. So, as someone who made Aliyah, which is the Jewish law of return to Israel, any Jew from anywhere can come to Israel and become a citizen. So, someone who has done that a year and a half ago, I know exactly how it feels to pick up and say goodbye to friends and family and the culture you know and the language that you know, and dive into the unknown of a country that is completely different than the U.S. And this can, you know, this can apply to not just people moving from America to Israel, but India to America, or Germany to even Australia. Just the way things are done in other countries, the systems that are in place, um, the language that is used, even if it's English, the terms that are used can feel very different and very foreign. It can be a huge challenge for those of us who are trying to make a go. Being an immigrant or making Aliyah or being expat, whatever term you want to use it to describe your journey, as an adult is really, really hard as you're working with years and years of your native culture and the experiences that you've had there, and braving the straits and going to a place that's completely different most of the time, just in the way things are done. So I thought today I would share with you some tips that I've picked up on along the way, that have really helped me as I've adjusted to making Aliyah and making Israel my home. But also, these are tips that I've asked other people. What do you think? What's made you feel like this has been successful, or how have you navigated the waters of being a new immigrant in a new country? So, without further ado, here are my 5 tips for making a successful transition living abroad. Tip number 1 is build your community. I always say this is the first step. Especially if you come by yourself, it's I think a little bit different if you come with family or you come with a partner, but or you're even coming to meet a partner. It's a little bit different than coming completely by yourself, which is what I did. I came with my dog, and the first thing I did was build my community, because as wonderful and great as Israel is, the language is tough. The way things are done culturally is tough, and being able to ask questions, ask other English speakers, which a lot of people say that's a big no-no. Like, you need to assimilate. I don't care what anybody says. When you are first getting started, your first couple months, your first year, however long it needs to be for you, if you need to hang out in your Anglo bubble with people who've been through it, who know your experience, who know what it's like to move from America or the UK or Australia and to come to a different place, stay with those people, build those relationships, build those friendships, ask for help, ask for tips, listen to their wise advice, and really it'll, I mean, when you're having really down dark days and you're wanting to go home, being able to say, hey, so and so, this is what I'm going through, and having somebody listen to you who's been through it, who can like just be there for you, can make you feel so much better and not alone. And so I say tip number one, I reiterate it, I don't care how many times, is to build your community. Find a couple of friends that you can just count on. Um, It'll really, really make the transition a lot smoother. Tip number 2 is, and it may sound silly, but it is what it is. I say, leave your pride back in your home country. Um, I joke with friends and say, I left my shame back in the U.S. And I say that to say is, for those of us who like to be independent and like to do things on our own, it can be really, really tough to ask for help and really, really tough to ask for support or to be vulnerable in any way. But when you're living abroad and you're somewhere different, being able to turn to the person here who speaks your native language, but also speaks like, like I said, I live in Israel, so like someone who speaks English and Hebrew and saying, hey, look, what does it say? And they can sit there and they can walk you through it and they can help you fill out the forms, or you have to call for your health insurance, or you have to call for this, that, and the other. And, they're telling you to do all these things in a language you don't know. And just being like, can you just help me with this? And having somebody help you and walk you through it. Again, I mean, it connects with number one, but it will help you as you're just not feel so alone and so overwhelmed, because trust me, when you're filling out all those paperwork and especially if you're in a country like China or Israel or Saudi Arabia or wherever, where they don't, and you're coming from like an Anglo speaking country where they don't have they don't use I don't know what it's called, the ABCs, for lack of a better term. Sorry, I'm sure there's a technical term that I don't know. But the alphabet is completely different, and the writing is different. Just looking at it can be overwhelming. And so turning to somebody and saying, can you please help me with this? And letting them help you. Eventually, especially if you take lessons in your native language, you'll start to like pick out the words and you'll start to understand, and you won't rely on people so much. But in the beginning, when you really just don't know, it really, really helps and goes a long way into helping your adjustment be better. This leads me to tip number three, which is, of course, learn the local language. I put it as number three. Other people will tell you that it should be your number one priority, but I have yet to meet somebody who has the time or the energy to learn a new language in like a month and can speak it fluently and can get by. So unless you're that person, you can learn the language, number one. If you're like most people, it's going to take you some time. It's going to take you some time to learn the new language. And it takes you almost no time to make friends, right? It'll take you less time to build a community, less time to reach out to one of those people in your community and say, hey, can you help me with this? Than it will for you to actually learn the language enough to get by. So, of course, you have to learn the language. Learning the language is going to help you feel like you're a part of your new home. It's going to help you learn local culture and the customs. And, at least my experience here in Israel is, even when I try and I say, and I do English and Hebrew mixed together, my favorite phrase, Atam medabel Anglit, like, do you speak English, And they'll tell me katzat, a little. And I said, okay, I need Ivrit, katzat. So, like, we can work it out together, right? And so you find a way to communicate, and as you're trying to practice the new language, you start to learn some of the words, and the people really appreciate. Even if you have a horrible accent, and I have a horrible accent. I don't know. I'm in Hebrew lessons now, and I sound like I'm Spanish when whatever, and you just have fun with it, right? You play with it, because people will they'll acknowledge your effort for trying to learn the language, and they will also communicate with you or try to communicate with you a little bit in English also, but if you're having fun with it and you're not like beating yourself up about it, and you're laughing, then that's also like another way that you're connecting with people. So yes, definitely learn the language, make it a priority, but it's number three on the list, sorry. Tip number 4 I have is set up a routine. Now, I'm a routine person. I like structure, and I like things to be a certain way. So it could, if you're one of those people, maybe make it a little higher on the list, but by having something that you do every day that you're passionate about, whether that's getting up and going to work every day, or you're going to yoga every day, or you're going to, going to school whatever you're doing, there's something that you're doing every day that kind of puts you in a routine so that you feel good about yourself and you feel like you have a sense of purpose and, you have a goal in mind. I feel like that also helps with the assimilation process of your new culture, because you're doing something every day that feels meaningful, and you're like everybody else who's getting up and going to work or getting up and going to school. So in that way, I think building up a routine and doing something consistently will go a long way in helping you feel more at home in your new country. And the final tip I have which I feel like doesn't really, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but, make time to connect, phone call, online, pen pal if you still do it. I have pen pals in France that I still message. Um, but connect with your friends and your family, people who've known you for years, people who love you and care about you and have your well-being at heart. Stay connected to those people. Don't discount those relationships because you're busy or you're struggling or whatever. Make time to connect with those people so that it's a reminder of who you are, right? And they can also remind you, especially when you're kind of in a dark place, like this is why you chose to do this and you're on the right path, and they'll be there for you. And I think that's really important. So those are my 5 tips for kind of surviving, surviving in your new country, surviving after you've made Aliya, how to make it more successful, feel more at peace, feel more like home. So I really hope that helped. And, over time, your new home will feel like your old home. So with that out of the way, I have some exciting news for my Israeli friends and folks here in Israel. I recently opened up a new office space here in Tel Aviv. So if you are struggling with your mental health, or you're just kind of struggling with your adjustment, you're like, I want to talk to somebody, I need somebody who's objective and who can help me who can deal with what's going on and my struggles, and you're not really comfortable with working online, which is mostly what I do, is see clients online, there is an in-office option for you. So if that's something you're looking for and you're looking for an English-speaking therapist, or you know somebody who's looking for an English-speaking therapist, please feel free to contact me. My website is www.englishspeakingtherapistjlang.com, or you can email me at jessica@jessicalangtherapy.com and set up a free consult. And if you found this video helpful, please click that like button. And sharing is caring, so feel free to share the video with all of your friends. I'll catch y'all next month. Thanks.